Hello, and welcome to another edition of From the Source, COVID-19 Pandemic Edition. I'm Elizabeth Johnson, bringing you the latest information on the pandemic. The town of North Hempstead is working diligently on the reopening of the area. I have had the opportunity to speak with Councilwoman Veronica Lurvey regarding the latest updates impacting the Great Neck Manhasset area. Today I have the opportunity to speak with Veronica Lurvey, District 4 Councilwoman, Town of North Hempstead. She covers the area of Great Neck, Manhasset, and parts of Roslyn. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you got it. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that you're constantly on Zoom interviews and all sorts of different projects and tasks that encompass your office. One of the things that I know during this pandemic is that the inquiries that come into your office have changed. Can you tell us a little bit about, what people are calling you about in regards to a local government?
Sure. Yeah, life has changed for all of us, hasn't it? And we're all doing the best that we can. The town, when we announced our state of emergency, continued with providing governmental services, but remotely. So we have all been working remotely and providing continuity of government that way. So I have been available since the beginning. There has been no interruption in my availability. I'm working from home. My legislative aide Romina is working from home. And there have been a lot of resident and business communications to our office. Everybody is trying to figure out what the new normal is.
Right.
Everybody is trying to deal with the COVID pandemic. They're at the beginning. So I'll go through a little bit what it was like, because it's kind of interesting. At the beginning, there were a lot of concerns about what is COVID? What do I do? How do I access healthcare? If you remember, that was a long time ago, but not so long ago.
No, not at all.
Right? That was a difficult time because we were all trying to figure out what it meant and what the best advice was to give to our residents who were very concerned, obviously. The town has been following CDC guidelines. So that makes it a little bit easier. We don't have a health department. So we look to the CDC and we look to Nassau County for guidance. So we were able to refer people to those health departments. Now, people are very concerned and they reach out to us with respect to helping access federal stimulus money. Now Nassau has announced a new loan program. So we might be getting calls about that. We have New York State services. So in some respects, I find that people call me or email me as the clearinghouse to figure out where to go for information.
Okay, so you're the 311 of the
The 311 is still working. I just want to say they're working from home. They've been working from home. It was amazing how easily they transitioned to working from home. But yes, sometimes people want the different relationship, right, between 311 and the resident as opposed to the councilwoman and the resident, the personal touch. Have been dealing a lot with businesses now that are looking to see what it means to be phase one and how can the town assist businesses get back on their feet. That's been a very big topic. But it's also things like graduations.
Yes.
Schools are contacting us. What can we do about graduation? Can you help us with graduation? What are the restrictions? Can we put up lawn signs? All of these, it runs the gamut pretty much, the resident issues.
I know a lot of schools have pushed off their high school graduations to perhaps the summer, later in the summer, if it all works out. And I know different towns have uh, different school districts have different responses to graduations.
Yeah.
I know a lot of colleges are virtual grad commencements.
Right.
So there's no physical contact, but
Right.
Yeah.
And around the town, different school districts have different approaches also. I know one school district has delayed graduation in the hopes that by the time they have graduation, they'll be able to do it in person. I know that school districts have petitioned the governor for some guidance on doing outdoor ceremonies as long as social guidelines, social distancing guidelines are followed. I think they really would appreciate having some understanding of what those guidelines would be for a graduation. The town of North Hempstead has offered every school district in the town the use of North Hempstead Beach Park for non-in-person graduations. Somehow, because we have been doing our drive-in movies,
right,
which have been a tremendous success. We have a large parking lot. There's a company to rent a screen from. So perhaps that could be somehow worked out to have some sort of graduation. And it was a nice thing for us to offer, I think.
That's excellent. I know that the beaches are open at 50% capacity and are being well used.
Yes, yes. And you read some of the headlines about some other locations that are having a lot of trouble with non-residents potentially causing issues, or with overcrowding, or with trash. I'm happy to report that after our first weekend of being open, things went, for the most part, very smoothly. So that's a nice thing.
Now, you had mentioned the movies. I know that originally it was just at the town of North Hempstead Beach Park. Has there been any additional information on expanding that? Yeah,
so there is a whole, it started off just on Saturdays, and they sold out so quickly that we added Sundays. And they're being shown at Manor Haven as well, and Clinton G. Martin.
Wonderful.
And if there is interest, and if there are other locations, then the town is happy to look into, partnering or offering it in other locations as well.
Right. Well, now that New York has stepped off, or Long Island region, I should say, stepped off pause and is opening up the construction and manufacturing, etc. I know some changes have occurred related to the building department. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's a wonderful thing that we were able to start to reopen and enter phase one, right? It's a great thing that all of those restrictions that were put in place, all of what we have had to endure and will continue to endure, was actually successful in helping us reach those numbers that we had to reach, according to Governor Cuomo, in order to start to reopen. So that was a wonderful thing. And the buildings department had been gearing up towards this slowly. There had been a week or two where they were starting to come back into the office and review permits that were already applied for and were available by telephone. But as of yesterday, 2 days ago, sorry, it all blends together. The buildings department is open. It is not available for walk-ins, right. But it is available for, all permitting needs. The way to contact them is to dial 311 and set up an appointment to speak with them. There is also an email address that I can find, I'm sure, buildings@northhempsteadny.gov, to also reach out to them. And I know that there is one business in Manhasset on Northern Boulevard that we have been working, my office and the buildings department has been working very closely with, and they were able to issue the permit for construction the day they opened. So kudos to the buildings department. People don't realize that coming back means figuring out how to keep staff safe. It means reconfiguring the office. It means putting up partitions. It means constant disinfecting. To be able to do all that and to also issue a permit the first day they were open is tremendous. It's just a testament to how committed they really are.
Right. I know that the board has also thought very carefully about those impacted during this pandemic who perhaps wanted to and have received permits to build, but now are unable to go forward. Mm-hmm. I know that you and the board have worked and permitted some change. Can you speak about that?
Sure. So this happened several weeks ago where the decision was made to give those people who wouldn't be able to go forward with the project because of financial hardship. Doesn't matter if it's due to COVID or what, just financial hardship. It's probably due to COVID, but to give them a refund of their permit fees. So there was a decision made to extend the expiration date of permits that had already been issued, but that would have expired during the stay-at-home order, and to provide refunds to those people who, once we could go back to construction, were not able to go forward with those projects. It seems the least that we could do.
Right. I know another thing that we're looking, because we're only in phase one, and of course phase one will be analyzed for at least 2 weeks to see, if there's any spike in COVID.
Right.
But of course, everyone is chomping at the bit to go out to dinner. And I know that that's not going to occur until phase 3, which is probably going to be sometime during the summer, whenever that is. What is the town of North Hempstead looking to do to help restaurateurs expand perhaps external seating outside? I know that Nassau County is looking at perhaps allowing the closure of Nassau County streets so that restaurants can put their tables out into the street. Of course, this is all contingent on good weather. I'm sure there will be some sort of tent cover, but so can you speak a little bit about what the town is looking at?
Of course. This has been an issue that we knew was going to be coming up. We knew that, knew is a strong word, but we strongly suspected that when restaurants were going to be able to reopen, they would have to reopen only at 50%. And how do you cover your costs at 50%? I'm not a restaurateur, but it seems to me that the more tables you have, the better. And that operating at 50% could lead the restaurant to continue to lose money, right? And nobody wants that. We already have issues in our downtowns with empty storefronts and restaurants not being able to survive even before this. Right. It's been a focus of discussion. So there is a business recovery group within the town. We have been meeting by Zoom, discussing various alternatives, and there will be a public hearing on June 18th based on of several different resolutions that were approved by the board that came out of this business recovery group. And one of them is for outdoor seating. It's a resolution that it's obviously designed to help businesses that are impacted by COVID, to let them, give them greater opportunity to use sidewalks, to use parking lots, to use patios, whatever access that they have to a space that is safe for outdoor seating. That would require still a buildings department permit,
Okay.
but we're looking at making that as easy and as helpful as possible.
Great.
And then you mentioned tents. This isn't part of the proposed legislation, but there has been a discussion also. Right now, the town requires tent permits to be renewed every 15 days, which is onerous if you think about somebody who wants to keep a tent out for a long time, and that might actually impact houses of worship also.
Okay.
And in my mind, I see, services happening once they are allowed to start to happen more than just 10 people, right? I see a discussion about having outdoor services in addition to indoor services. The feeling being that the spread of COVID outdoors is different from the spread of COVID indoors. So being able to put up tents and keep them for longer periods of time without having to renew that permit, I think would be in everyone's best interest.
Right. Right. I also know that there have been changes in, I guess, guidelines as far as the social distancing, specifically for the beaches that I'm aware of right now, that instead of 6 feet apart, you really need to be like 10 feet apart. Do you think that whole change will be go forward with any kind of program that happens outdoors?
Oh, interesting. You mean, do you think that 10-foot distancing requirement will extend to other outdoor activities? Is that, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where that 10 feet came from. I don't know if that was based on a decision that if you're sitting, I'm just speculating here, sitting on a towel 6 feet from someone is different than walking by somebody 6 feet. And maybe if you're stationary and there's a 10-foot, you want a wider spread between you and the people next to you. I really don't know. I know that one of the things, to go back to your original question, I've been getting a lot of questions about is from places like crew clubs, rowing clubs,
right,
fencing clubs, boxing facilities, yoga studios. What are the requirements to be able to do things outside, right? Because it makes sense.
Yes.
Couldn't you hold a yoga practice outside if everybody is 6 or maybe 10 feet apart? So my thoughts to them are to contact their state officials and to make the argument that their classes can be held outside safely and have that brought to the governor's attention, because I know the governor he seems to be responsive, at least when the town has approached him with things like delaying the tax payment deadline,
right,
things like DriveIn Movies, and various other things that I know that the Supervisor Bosworth has gone to him specifically about. He seems to have, he seems to be listening. So my advice to all of those recreational and sports clubs is to contact the state and to let them know And golf also, right? Golf actually, the golf clubs opened because they petitioned the governor and they said, we can do this safely.
Right.
Right. So to answer your question, I don't know if that means 6 feet or 10 feet, but I'm hopeful that for the sake of each of these businesses and for the sake of their customers, that there is some way for them to be able to sort of start to offer some sort of recreation sooner rather than later, with the understanding it has to be safe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the overhang here. Is Memorial Day was a day when the beaches opened. A lot of people went out. We don't know what the consequence of that is. We know that a lot of people followed the rules, and they wore masks and they socially distanced. We need to watch now for the next 2 weeks and see what outcome there was from that. And fingers crossed, we won't see an uptick.
Well, I know that the supervisor, as well as the entire town board, thinks about things like people having to go to the bathroom, the trash, the social distancing, masks, and all of that is incorporated in the decisions that are made, which I think has provided us with more freedom and hopefully the ability to continue this going forward, rather than in some jurisdictions where, the whole idea of, oh no, public bathrooms are closed becomes an issue, and therefore, restrictions have to be put in place. So
Right.
I have to say that I believe that a lot of the, different concepts are being thought of when a decision is made, and I thank you for it, because I can tell you I went to go visit the beach the other day, and when I walked there I was asked for ID, which I provided, and I was just very happy to be able to sit on the beach and to look at the beautiful blue sky, and saw so many people just enjoying themselves, but being smart about it. And
that's the key, and I think you really hit the nail on the head. Supervisor Bosworth has really approached this with the goal of putting reasonable restrictions on people,
right.
And educating people about the need for these restrictions, in order that we can somehow continue to go towards a reopening, right? I think that's always been her priority. And she, with her, I don't know if you get her robocalls or her emails or the public service announcements, the town is really focused on making sure that people understand that it isn't just a random directive to wear a mask, but it's actually necessary in order to continue to be able to sort of go back to some sort of normalcy, even though it's going to be a new normalcy.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you're working on that you can share with us going forward? I know that you constantly are meeting by Zoom.
Yes.
That you could share with the viewership?
There are so many things going on. I don't even know where to begin. We want to continue opening. We want to, we're working on opening the driving range for those people who are golfers. We're hoping to be able to continue to provide the programming that we had been providing in person, particularly to the seniors, virtually. So Project Independence has been providing online programs, everything from book clubs to exercise classes, so that the seniors that are home, and for the most part are going to be in the at-risk category, can continue to interact with their peers in some same way that they had before. So there's a lot going on actually in the Project Independence realm. There were new programs also meant to address the mental health challenges of being home alone. We have a Neighbors Helping Neighbors program where seniors, based on their interests, are matched up with volunteers, younger volunteers with similar interests. Over 45 matches have been made, and they call each other and they Zoom with each other, and it's a way to alleviate loneliness. So those are programs that are going to continue to function and continue to grow. And we're constantly looking for ways to assist the public and businesses. You know, we're looking into providing additional seating in public parks to allow people to take food out from the restaurants and eat in a park, right? So another way to provide outdoor seating, but it is different in form because this would be public seating and not restaurant seating. We're also looking, you mentioned Nassau County closing down streets. We're also looking into what are the town's procedures for closing town streets. Okay. And, because we have permits for sidewalk sales, we have permits for block parties. Do we need to somehow tweak them to make them appropriate for the current situation? Mm-hmm. It's hard because can you imagine closing down Plandome? These are the issues.
Plandome and Middle Neck Road, I mean, those are huge.
They're thoroughfares, but that's where the restaurants are located, right?
Right.
I know Great Neck does a outdoor, I can't remember what they call it, series where they close down a side street.
Okay.
And Bond Street, and the restaurants on that street are allowed to use it. Oh, it wow. would be great. It would be great to allow that for other restaurants, right? In other areas. It would require, police input. It would require some safety analysis, but it's another thing that we're looking into with respect to town streets.
Right. Well, I wanted to finish off by saying thank you to the town for your help in the beautification efforts.
Ah, yes.
I know that it is something that Supervisor Bosworth, as well as yourself, have been dedicated to. And it just makes the whole place look so much cheerier with these beautiful baskets and the fact that the town will be watering them. I can't tell you, the committee was so excited.
That's great to hear.
So I want to extend my special thanks to you and Supervisor Bosworth and everyone who is involved, because flowers just really make people happy when they see it. And now, especially during this pandemic, I think people are more aware of nature. And so this is just an extra special gesture. And it's very welcome. So
I'm thrilled that we were able to offer it. I'm thrilled that Supervisor Bosworth was able to work it out. Before, when you mentioned the bathrooms, for example, right? Like there being bathrooms, and if bathrooms are available, it forestalls other issues. Just keeping the bathrooms disinfected, it requires a tremendous amount of manpower. Keeping the buildings that are open, the town clerk's office is open, the receiver's office is open, receiver of taxes office is open, not for walk-ins, but for appointments and marriage licenses and the like. The amount of staff that is required to maintain the safety in those areas is a lot. And so to be able to offer the beautification, which is the same staff you know, and have them do both was not an easy lift, but because we need some return to normalcy, we need, like you said, it's a morale booster. It's something that people appreciate. And so it was very important for the supervisor to get it done. And I can't wait to go and walk along Plandome once they're up and just go and appreciate it. Are they up already?
They're up.
Oh, then I'll go today.
So I want to say thank you so much. I mean, it's great. And I appreciate you coming onto the show. I mean, you're always a wonderful guest, and I hope that we'll be seeing more of you in the future.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for having me. I always really enjoy our conversations, and I look forward to the next one and seeing you in person.
Yes.
That's all for now. Stay tuned for North Shore Television as we continue to bring you the latest information on this pandemic. In the meantime, wear a mask in public, social distance, wash your hands with soap and water, and stay safe.